Right, the summer transfer window is officially open from today. Clubs are already closing in on business early, it seems, in preparation for next season. And Saudi Arabia are set to have another huge summer, with reports linking their two major clubs to the Manchester United captain, Bruno Fernandes, as well as the current Inter boss, Simone Inzaghi, who's been linked with a move out there as well. Joining us to look ahead then to a busy summer, no doubt, is Saudi Arabia football expert Ben Jacobs. Ben, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Hi, Ben.
Very, very well. Are you expecting it to be busy then for you?
Oh, that top, Ben.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to work out the
What top is that you've got on?
It is Senegal training
stop.
top.
Senegal.
It's far too bright for them
Yes.
to actually play in, but they train in it in the build-up to games.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
That is.
Although I was thinking you might wear something Saudi Arabia linked, but never mind. Never mind. Yes, so tell us then, how busy do you think this summer's going to be for Saudi Arabian clubs?
Yeah, I think the Saudi clubs are going to be incredibly busy. It sort of comes in waves because there's an 8-player any age limit for foreigners in Saudi Arabia for each team. So 2023 caught everyone by surprise and there was a flurry of business. Then I think last summer people felt it was a bit slow, and that was partially because many of the teams had their foreigners and didn't have the space to bring in 6 or 7 players. Now we're seeing a squad refresh, and you've got Al Hilal in particular, who are playing in the Club World Cup. They need a new manager, which is where the Inzaghi links come from. I think we're going to get clarity on that in the next couple of days, because obviously they couldn't negotiate with him in the build-up to the Champions League final. They want Bruno Fernandes. And for Al Hilal, the next 10 days is vital, because what they're basically saying to everybody, manager, players, is if you don't join in time for the Club World Cup, then the offer is off the table. Then you've got Al Nass, who want Luis Diaz. They will look at Alejandro Garnacho if they don't get Diaz, but my understanding is Diaz is the top target. You've got Victor Osimhen, who might be on the move to Saudi Arabia. And again, I think that's one for Al Hilal to watch. And then interestingly, you've got two clubs, Al Qadsiya, who, unlike other teams in Saudi Arabia, have got all of their own money to spend because they're not relying on hand-me-downs from the Ministry of Sport funding. They're owned by Aramco, the Saudi oil giant, so they can spend what they like and should be active. They've already got Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang from a year ago. And the other club is Neom FC, which is a big project in Saudi Arabia. And they're newly promoted, and that means that they've basically got 8 spots because they're going to do a total squad refresh. So they're going to be ones to watch in the market as well.
Ben, I've got to ask you, because we hear the numbers and the transfer fees and the wages, and I come away sometimes thinking, it's got to be an exaggeration. It can't be that much. You know, of whether they're saying it's 100 million transfer fee, or is it, you know, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 million a year salary. Is it as crazy, or is it just being exaggerated as well? It's great money, but it's also got exaggerated to ridiculous amounts.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And the short answer is it's not exaggerated, but it's spun. And by that, I mean, when you move to Saudi Arabia, you get your base wage, you get your guaranteed bonuses, you get your non-guaranteed bonuses. That's pretty normal in football. Then you get things like cars, all accommodation paid for, flights back home, and then some stranger bonuses that are negotiated away from perhaps football or team performances. So it might be an unusually high number for image rights. It could be a figure to post something on social media in conjunction with the tourism board. So when you add everything up, the bigger number tends to be everything and not all of it guaranteed. And the smaller number tends to be just your football or guaranteed income. So if you look at Bruno Fernandes, we hear 2 numbers. One is about £700,000 a week, which is, give or take, tripling his Manchester United wage, if you also consider the fact he doesn't have to pay any tax on that. And that comes to this rough number of about 25 or 30 million pounds a year. And then depending on exactly what he makes will be based upon how many games he plays, because there's match by match bonuses just for appearances, what he scores, how the team does, and so on. Then doubling that number is because they'll pay him a large amount of money to use his image rights, a sign-on fee. He'll probably do some deals outside of only the Ministry of Sport to help promote Saudi Arabian football. And then the big sort of hike in the number is the fact that they will just pay all of his accommodation. It's very common in the Middle East, even for me or you, if we went over and worked there, to get an accommodation allowance on top of your base wage. So this is where the discrepancy between numbers come. And sometimes I think it suits the clubs to give the bigger number because it shows ambition. And sometimes they obviously want to show they're a bit more disciplined in the market. And that's where you hear the smaller number.
I think you're asking that because you've got an offer to go out there, clearly. Just seeing how genuine it is. Just briefly then, we've just had a message in, no name on it, but who wants to play in Saudi? It says, a terrible league that no one watches. Now, obviously, I haven't been able to watch it over here, but just in terms of the standard, with all of these players that we see continuously moving out there, is the standard getting better and better?
It is getting better. The attendances still need to improve and the infrastructure needs to grow. And I think if you look at the Saudi Pro League in parallel to the evolution of the Premier League was not a finished product in 92, 93. It probably only really blew up in the late 90s when there was an influx of foreign signings. Saudi have gone straight in for foreign signings on day one, but this project is only 2 seasons old. So I don't think anyone in Saudi Arabia thinks it's supposed to be like the Premier League, and yet it's being judged in those terms. Right now, coefficient-wise, standard-wise, I don't think it's a top 10 league, but the people behind its strategy are prepared to wait 5 to 7 years. I think 2030 is the year when they want it to become a top 10 league. By the World Cup, they want it to be a top 5 league. And these foreign stars help. But the reality is that in 2023, they went for older foreigners because it was just about star power. This window, it's going to be more about finding a younger kind of footballer. John Duran in January is a good example. Victor Osimhen would be another one. And if they get those names, that's the acid test. Because if 7 to 10 who are 25 or under and are peak players arrive, the league will improve. If they decide, no, it's not good enough for us, then they're going to go around in circles of constantly having to get older players. They may not stay for that long. And then you'll see the league become too transitional. There'll be too much movement in, and then within 3 years, immediately out. The average age will not come down. The Saudi players then won't improve. So this feels like a pivotal window, because if they prove they can get another 10 John Durans, then the league will start to enter into a top 10 in the world. If they don't, then maybe the critics will continue to say the project won't work.
Ben, just a brief one because we're running out of time. I'm a Liverpool fan, so Luis Diaz, what is it going to take get him away from Liverpool? Because that is a big one. If Liverpool lose him and how he's played, I'm just thinking, wow, that's a big move, getting him in.
Well, the advantage for Liverpool is they've got plenty of money to spend. So if Diaz goes, I would expect a big replacement. We know they like Anthony Gordon, for example. Diaz to Al Nassr is a concrete possibility. Diaz posted a message that was basically just an end-of-season thank you, but some Liverpool fans maybe felt that there was an element of goodbye reading between the lines. Al Nassr want Luis Diaz. He's their top target. They believe 85 million euros will be good enough. And I do think at that number, Liverpool might be tempted to sell. So that's one to watch. Not necessarily 1st to the 10th of June, because Al Nassr are not in the Club World Cup. So they don't need to worry about forcing it through in the next 10 days. But Diaz to Al Nassr, it's one to watch. He's their top target. But Barcelona and Diaz as well. So he's going to have a big choice to make if Barcelona can find a way to fund it. But obviously Liverpool would prefer, if they're going to sell to Al Nassr, because that's the only way they're going to get this number of 85 million.
Yeah, very much so. Crikey, there are lots of players, aren't there, rumoured to be, linked with Saudi clubs. We await to see what happens. It's going to be a busy summer for you, as it always is, Ben, and we appreciate you being with us. So thank you.
Cheers, Ben.
Thanks, guys.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.